And today we're joined by Ades, founder of Frame of Mind Coaching. Kim, thank you for joining us today.
I'm so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this for days. So thank you for having me.
Oh, great. Uh, Now you're in the midst of leadership. You're working with small and medium-sized business members, or actually leaders of all types. I've had a chance to take your course, which is wonderful, by the way. So thank you for that. Um, One of the things to kick things off here, you talk a lot about journaling.
Yes.
Why is that so important? Why should leaders today look to do something like that?
All right. Well, maybe I can give a little bit of context. How's that? Okay,
Yes, please.
let me go back a little bit. So basically, I run an executive coaching company, and we've been coaching leaders, executives, entrepreneurs for nearly 21 years. And one of the things that we do when we coach these leaders is we ask them to journal in a private and secure online journal every single day for the duration of their coaching period. So the question is why? What's the point? Why do we use journaling as such a centerpiece to our coaching experience? And the reason is this, is that when you are journaling on a daily basis, you're writing down your thoughts, you're writing down your experiences, you're writing down when things go well, when things don't go so well. And there's a place where you are reflecting upon what happened, why it happened, your dreams, your hopes, your futures, your goals, all of that, right? It's in your journal. And so, from a coaching standpoint, what it does for me is it provides me with really, really relevant data to pull from and to help me understand who you are, how you're wired, how you see the world, how you operate. And it helps me see patterns of thought, patterns of behavior, your values, your priorities, all of it exists in your journal. But why do I recommend journaling outside of the coaching experience? Is
Yes.
because when you write things down, what happens is you separate your thoughts, right? Because usually we have a lot of thoughts. We have 60,000 thoughts a day. You separate your thoughts from yourself in such a way that you can see them in an objective way. And that's very, very powerful to see how your thinking is influencing or impacting everything you do and everything you don't do. So, and it's very therapeutic on top of that. It's kind of like meditation. So, there are lots of reasons why journaling is super powerful.
Okay. Now, you mentioned write it down. Do I need to write it down in a journal? Is that better than typing it into my computer?
Either way, I think it's good. The whole thing is this, is your brain works very fast and your fingers, whether you're typing or using a pen, doesn't work as fast.
Hmm.
So what happens is when you are writing it, again, either through a computer or on a piece of paper, you are forcing your brain to slow down. And that's very, very useful, very powerful in terms of making decisions, gaining clarity, really thinking about where you're going and how you're getting there. It's a very powerful process.
Wow. Okay. So I guess that means I shouldn't be dictating my journal.
Ideally, no. Ideally, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in your coaching run, having listened to you so much, there's so many words of wisdom that I took back. But one was you talk about coaching is not about giving advice.
No,
What is it? How do you frame
coach,
it?
yeah, coaching as a coach, my job is to really learn about how you operate in the world, how you think, and more importantly, what you believe to be true about everything. And when I can see your beliefs, I can understand how you are behaving the way you are or why you're behaving the way you are. And sometimes your behaviors lead you to the outcomes you want, but sometimes they don't. And so my job as a coach is to be able to hold up a mirror and say, okay, you're saying you want to have this goal, whatever it is, but you're behaving in that way, and these things don't match. Is that what you're intending to do? Perhaps we can help you align your behaviors with your goals. But why do you believe you have to do this? What's the belief around that? Because usually we do things because we believe that's the right thing to do,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yeah, I think often we think of coaches, and the analogy you hear all the time is professional sports athletes have coaches. They have multiple types of coaches, but those coaches are actually giving advice. They're actually telling them how to run better, throw better, perform better.
But
What's the difference between coaching athletes and coaching leaders?
those coaches are also observing how the athlete is performing.
Hmm.
So a huge part of coaching is observation, is data collection. So let's say I was a golf coach, for example,
Okay.
and I've never played golf a day in my life, but let's say I was a golf coach.
Mhm.
I would observe how you swing. And I would be able to observe that over a number of sessions. And I would observe that, wow, when you swing, you like arch your back in a funny way. And that arching process causes you to veer left when you really want to go straight. So I'm observing and then I give you feedback and I say, "Hey, I'm observing you're veering left. Try veering right a little." Right? Try moving your positioning your body like this. So what I'm doing is I'm helping you create adjustments so that you're able to reach your goals more easily. So in executive coaching, what I'm doing is I'm helping you adjust your thinking so that you're able to reach your goals more easily. I'm able to align your thinking with the goals that you have. Same way as I'm able to align your body in golf.
Okay. Now, working with leaders, I mean, leaders are coming to you to improve, to take their performance to the next level. But you're also, as part of this, you're also a Vistage speaker. Uh,
Yes.
and so you get a chance to work with Vistage groups and Vistage members. Uh, what have, and they're coming to you to learn, but what have you learned from your work with Vistage members?
Well, for me, one of the most amazing parts about being a Vistage speaker, first of all, I love Vistage chairs because they're always on it. They're the most responsible people I've ever encountered in the world. They get back to you, they're on time, they're always early. Like they're just so easy to work with. So I really, really love Vistage chairs. But the second piece of it is that when I'm in a room with a bunch of Vistage members, I get to observe how they interact with one another and how they really serve each other and how they care about each other. And just being in the room, being able to observe the conversations they're having with one another is such a gift, such an amazing thing to witness because you don't see that often. You see people who are, each trying to reach their own goals and have their own challenges, but they have each other's backs. And it's just an amazing group that Vistage has managed to put together.
Okay. Wow. Yes, that's, thank you for that observation. Along those lines, um, what got you into coaching and where did you come up with a concept for frame of mind
Yeah,
coaching?
I'll tell you a little bit of history. So, I'm a bit of a serial entrepreneur myself. And
Mhm.
so, before I owned this business, I used to own an assessment company. And we used to build simulation-based assessments. And the purpose of those assessments was to help companies make better hiring decisions. And we were building simulations in a time when the technology wasn't nearly what it is now. It was like very antiquated, but at the time we were on the leading edge. And I ended up selling my business. And the minute I sold my business, I got recruited, like within a few weeks, by a
Mhm.
coaching company here in Toronto. I live in Toronto. And I lasted for about 8.5 months. The reason it was such a short period of time is because, as any entrepreneur can probably relate to, once you work for yourself, it's really hard to then work for anybody else.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But the second reason is that I got to observe how they coach. And I felt that they were doing it wrong. I felt that they were missing some really important and integral pieces in the coaching process. And so I left and I decided I think I could do this better myself. I think I have a better idea of what's really required to move someone forward. And so that's when I started framing my coaching.
Okay. When you make that jump, what is it that drives you? What's your purpose? What is your why, I guess, in simple terms?
You know what? It's such an interesting question to ask me what's my why because I'm going to answer the question, but then we're going to talk about the whole concept of what's my why. Okay.
Okay.
So ever since I was a kid, I was the type of person who I always wanted to help people. I always wanted to help them in a profound, personal way. So I wanted to leave a mark
You
in,
say always. What was your earliest memory of wanting to help somebody in a profound way?
I'll tell you the story. Okay. So
Okay.
I was in high school, and where I grew up, high school was grade seven.
Mhm.
And it went from grade 7 to grade 11. And at lunchtime, you would walk around the circle. Okay, so you go have lunch, and then for the remainder of your lunch period, you walk around the hallways, which is called the circle. And I remember walking around the circle, and there was this girl coming towards me. She was very tall, very, very thin, older than me, it appeared. She had very thin hair. She had a broken tooth, and she was carrying a cigarette. And I was young and I was very naive. And I looked at her with my big eyes, like I had never seen anything like that in my life, in school especially. And my eyes just kind of followed her. And she didn't like the fact that I was looking at her. And within a few seconds, she said, "What are you looking at?" And she pinned me against the wall and was ready to beat me up because
Wow.
because I was looking at her because I was just so fascinated with what I was seeing. But I was not a fighter. So I was like, no, 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 I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything by it. But she was like, gonna have her day, and she was determined to, take me outside and beat me up. Thank goodness a teacher stepped in and broke it up, and like it really got my heart racing. But I think her name was Shelley. I dreamt about Shelley for the next 5 years of my life. And here's how the dream went. For some reason, we were on a roller coaster together, going up and down. And I
Mhm.
remember my job, my role in that dream was to convince Shelley that she could have a different way in life. She didn't have to be like this. She
Wow.
didn't need to be so violent, and she could be like a kinder, softer version of herself. She didn't need to and that was my dream ever since I was 12 years old. I dreamt about Shelley.
Wow.
So, so I was wired personally, I was wired towards helping people. Instead of like having nightmares about Shelley, I dreamt that I could potentially influence her to be a better person. And so it's been my calling, you could say. However, let's go back to the what's your why. I
Hmm.
believe that your why and my why and his why and her why and all the whys are basically the same.
Okay.
The reason you want anything is because you believe it's going to make you feel good, make you feel better. It's going to fulfill you somehow. No matter what it is. You want a new car? Oh, it's going to make me feel better. You want a new house? You want to be in love? You want to travel? Whatever it is. Whatever it is that you want to grow your business, it's because you think it's going to make you feel better. So our whys are all the same. But what's more interesting than asking what's your why is asking what's your why not? What's stopping you from reaching your goals? And that's what I'm interested in as a coach.
Okay. Wow. As you look at um, leaders out there, you're kind of in the leadership expert role, kind of going through this. Um, who out there or what character in a movie or a book do you look to as either a great example of a leader or somebody who inspires you?
You know what, honestly, like when I look at my own life, I look to my parents. They were amazing leaders. They accomplished a lot given their history, and so they were definitely big role models. But you can see leadership in everything and anything from like Bugs Bunny to Richard Branson. So what we're looking for is what are those characters? We're looking at ingenuity, we're looking at creativity, we're looking at resourcefulness. We're looking at a person who looks at things a bit differently and approaches things differently and challenges, common beliefs. We're looking at someone who's resourceful and comes up with creative solutions or doesn't mind asking for help or tapping into something that most people think is inaccessible to them. And one of the things that we see about leaders for sure is that they are clear about where they're going and what they want.
Okay. Now, you were one of the more memorable coaches I've ever had a chance to work with, and I loved your course. Um,
I'm glad.
but
That makes me
from
happy.
from your standpoint, What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, I honestly, I'd like to be the person where, oh yeah, I remember that one conversation I had with Kim and it moved the needle somehow. It left a mark, it left an imprint. I remember that conversation. That's it. That's good enough for me.
Wow. All
Yeah.
right. Um, I think we've gone through the topics I had and wanted to bring up. Is there anything else you wanted to add to our conversation?
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
As a Vistage chair,
hmm
what do you think are the greatest challenges that leaders confront?
Oh, I think that's also changed over time as our culture has changed and our workforce have changed. But certainly one is the uncertainty. Uh, and it seems like we're always focused on the current uncertainty, which might be the economy now and tariffs and what's going on. But we just came out of the pandemic. And before that, we had a big economic meltdown in the 2008, 2009 era.
Yeah.
So there's always something that's coming up so that that level of uncertainty and leaders needing to be able to embrace the change and welcome the change and realize that that's part of what gives them the opportunity to prove that they're a good leader. If everything is smooth sailing, you don't get to know how good you are.
Yeah.
It's the
Well,
challenges that come up, it's embracing that challenge and looking forward to the next one and getting your team inspired to do the same so that you bring out the best in your team. I think it was Marcus Buckingham who, in his presentation on love and work, talked about knowing what your employees love about their job.
yeah.
It may not be the whole job, but what do they love about your job so you can help them accomplish their dreams through that. And I
Right.
just love that perspective.
So we're going to wrap this up, and I'm going to ask you one question. What do you love about your job?
This is the best job I could imagine happening at this phase in my life. I coach a group of uh, motivated, high-performing CEOs who are focused on getting better. We come together once a month, and I get to join them on their journey of success when they're going through that. That's more success than I could ever have on my own. So we had our group meeting yesterday. I came home last night just really pumped. I couldn't wait till I get to share that with my wife in terms of the lessons I learned during the day.
Amazing. What a gift.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Kim, thank you for joining us today.
It was a
Uh,
pleasure.
thank,
Thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate the opportunity.
okay. My name is Mike Tetro. I'm an executive coach, and I lead a Vistage peer advisory group for high-performing CEOs. If you'd like to learn more about frame of mind coaching or about the benefits of a Vistage peer advisory group, please reach out. In the meantime, I look forward to seeing you on our next deep dive.